I'm glad to be with you again. You hear me say that every week if you tune around here, but I always mean it, and I never quite get over it, that I have the chance to say something to you and not even know for sure if you or anybody else is paying attention, but it's worth the try, and I'm glad to have that chance today. I've been reading in the last few days in the book of 1 Chronicles. I've told you along the way that I'm reading through the Bible again this year, and here I am in 1 Chronicles, near the end of it just now. I want to read a couple of verses from 1 Chronicles 25, the kind of thing that ordinarily one might skip over, not get too excited about reading, but let me give you a chance. They've listed a lot of hard-to-pronounce names. Hard to pronounce because they aren't familiar to us. They're a different culture. And then the writer goes on to say, all these were the sons of Heman, the king's seer, according to the promise of God to exalt him. For God had given Heman 14 sons and 3 daughters. That's a big family. That wasn't in the Bible. That was my comment about it. They were all under the direction of their father for the music in the house of the Lord, with cymbals, harps, and lyres for the service of the house of God. Asaph, Jeduthun, and Heman were under the order of the king. They and their kindred, who were trained in singing to the Lord, all of whom were skillful, numbered 288. And they cast lots for their duties, small and great, teacher and pupil alike. This is telling you something about the world in which the great poet, king, general, shepherd, David. It's telling you of the world in which David lived and some of the people who worked with David. And among those who worked with David was this person named Heman, Heman. Heman and Asaph were both musicians who've left with us in the scriptures several psalms. You have to look a while to find Heman especially. Asaph has several, Heman just 1 or 2, but you'll find them there. And it says that wonderful thing about Heman, that the Lord blessed him. Blessed him in the sense, first of all, that Heman had a large family. What was it? How many now? I must look again. Yes, 14 sons and 3 daughters. That's a family for sure. But here's the wonderful thing about them. They were all musicians. Isn't that lovely? They all had a talent. They were before the Bach family that had talent everywhere. But here was a choir and an orchestra all built into one household. When I was a young preacher, I was fortunate to have in my congregation a family known as the Goody family. Goodlet was the real name. They went all over the United States, presenting music wherever they went, some popular, some classical or semi-classical, always some religious. And it was a remarkable family because all of them could sing, all of them could play instruments. But there were only 5 or 6 of them, 6 as I recall, counting the mother and father. Heman has 14 sons and 3 daughters, and they play this variety of musical instruments. Why did they do it? They did it to the glory of God. They felt that their talent was God's gift, so they were using it for God there in the temple of the Lord. I wish I could have heard Heman's family. It would have been nice to have been at some occasion when maybe they would have brought them to, a chapel service at the seminary, or if they had brought that family of 17 to a special auditorium presentation in our day. I suspect that in our day, they would get some great publicity if they'd come to town just for the fact of 17 in one family, all true sons and daughters of the same person, Heman, and all of them musicians, but all of them doing it to the glory of God. When they sang and played, the king was made peaceful before God and felt stronger because he had heard from God. I feel that way too if I have heard good music. If I have heard music that, I should say that differently. Music that appeals to me. It doesn't have to necessarily be good in someone else's taste. If it does something for your soul, thank God for it. Some, quite frankly, almost surely is better than other. And some of it would lift us a bit more if we'd give it a chance. But know whenever you listen to some music that lifts you, that it has a long history, that it can go all the way back and back and back. And then think, if you will, about a musician, a man named Heman, who left us with a psalm and who had 14 sons and 3 daughters that were their musical troupe, doing their thing with their instruments and their singing. And when you think of that, thank God that one of the gifts God has given us is, on the one hand, the ability to listen and to appreciate, and on the other hand, the ability for a few to produce sounds that bless and rhythms that lift. That's what's on my mind today, and I'm glad I can say it to you. Thanks, and God bless you.